The name Foster and Partners is synonymous with some of today's great art and creations and iconic buildings around the world. Projects include the Cathay Pacific Hong Kong lounges, Faustino Winery in Spain, the Elephant House and Zoo in Copenhagen in Denmark, the Dole de Grand Hotel restoration project in Zurich, and international airports including locally Beijing and Hong Kong. Leading the team in China is architect Emily Phang.
I think my passion for architecture had started a long time ago, and I love creating art, drawing, designing since I was very, very young. Since I was 6, I was being sent to like a teacher that taught art. So I always had a passion for creating things, with drawing things and with making things. So since then, I've always been involved in a lot of creative and art things, even in school. And eventually when I got to university, it was very natural for me to choose architecture, because architecture as a course was very interesting for me. It allowed me to learn how to design, but at the same time it was about making a building, which I felt it was a very grand thing to do for a future career or something that I would be passionate about for life. So I think it's pretty much quite simple passion, about creating things, about designing. That is sometimes a difficult question to answer, but naturally a beautiful thing has to look aesthetically pleasing to a person's eyes. And for us who do projects like large-scale architectural developments, I think a beautifully designed building sometimes is not just about looking good on the outside. It has to look good because it has to fit beautifully into its context. It has to go with its immediate surroundings. It must be of reference to the people that will use it, and only when people can relate to a project culturally, historically, even environmentally, would they then be able to appreciate it as a beautiful building. And if you were to put something very foreign and very different to what people are used to in an environment, then they won't actually think it's beautiful. So I think as a key kind of like a way of doing beautiful projects for us in Foster and Partners is that we always put a lot of emphasis on making sure the project blends well with its immediate context. And I think that is very important, and proportions have to be right. And once you've got all that together, then you would get a beautiful project in the end. When you start a new project, a client would always give you their brief. They will give you their requirements, their aspirations for a project. And I think the most challenging thing is to be able to come up with a brilliant idea and a concept that could meet the client's brief and what they want to do for the project. And many times we put a lot of our design thinking right at the beginning, because that is actually indeed the most difficult part. We would spend a lot of time to do research work so that it helps us to develop ideas that are unique to this project. And it's a difficult process, but I think why we want to do it that way as well is to make sure that to deal with all the questions from the client, we want to just at the end of the day create a solution for them that is unique and that is customized to the project for the client, so that it is a one and only project in the world, or even for us, that we will ever do for this particular client. A great client would be someone that absolutely knows what he or she wants for the project, has a very, very clear goal that they want to get to, so that during the whole process of doing the design with us, they give very clear directions on how they want the architect to move. They don't have to tell us how it should be designed, but I think a great client has to know what they want and not be always changing their minds along the way, because that makes it very difficult for any architects to find the solution for them. So I do hope the great client can be a good kind of like a decision maker, knows what he wants, and I think that would be a very simple requirement for a good client. I actually think it was my father that really inspired me to want to become an architect. He was not an architect. He was just a technical teacher that taught wood craftswork to students. So I think he inspired me in the sense that he allowed me to come in contact with art form at a very young age. And from a very young age, he has always inspired me to push for things that I enjoyed doing and that I had a passion for, no matter what it is. So I would say that he was a very big part of my life to guide me into doing architecture. But of course, once I went into the architectural course, I was very much inspired by a lot of the great architects in this century. People like Frank Lloyd Wright, people like Le Corbusier. They are classic masters. I mean, they do buildings which still stand around the world. And I was at that point in school, and when I saw their works, I felt a great kind of like power in their building, and they were able to have such impact on people when you look at it, and how they actually affect people's lives. And that made me really think that, you know, if you become a very good architect, you can actually create amazing buildings like what they've done, and that actually affects how people live in it and how people can enjoy it. And I think that is a beautiful thing to do. So that very much inspired me, and I felt that I could maybe one day build similar projects like them that could be enjoyed by common people all over the world. I would like to say maybe more about how Foster & Partners see a trend in hospitality projects. I think very important is sustainability, and sustainability is a big topic, but I think we would always feel that any projects for the future, especially from where we are now in this world where pollution is a big issue, sustainability becomes a very important topic. And we think that if you were to do a hospitality project, or regardless any projects, it's important to consider using green, environmentally friendly products, or more importantly, when you do a project in a particular context, as much as you can, you need to design the building to be low energy, so that it doesn't take up as much energy consumption as other buildings. And also to use local materials. If you're in China, you try to use materials that are readily available in China. If you're building a resort somewhere on an island, always explore using the materials that are already available on the island, any stone, any wood that you can find, and or bamboo. That, you know, these are all very good sustainable materials that should be used. And you can see lots of projects even in China now. Developers are starting to look into building a resort that is very low impact, uses local labor. I think these are great ideas for a hospitality project.